I'm a former CIA officer, and 6 weeks ago, I tested the Up phone by Unplugged. I said that, hey, I'm gonna keep an open mind, I'm gonna do this, because guess what? This right here is my flip phone. And yes, I use a flip phone, I've always used a flip phone, and people are always trying to get me to use a smartphone. So this Up phone by Unplugged is supposedly, or they told me supposedly, a hack-proof phone. At first, I used it for 7 days, I had it for a week, tried it. It was good, I liked some things, but again, after a week, you really don't know much. So now we're 6 weeks past. I'm gonna tell you the good, the bad, the ugly, the negative stuff that I found, the stuff that I really, really like, and whether I'm gonna keep continuing to carry this. So let's jump right to it. Let's not waste time. So first, this is the Up phone by Unplugged. This is version 2. So this was launched, I believe, August 2024. They had a first version that had some bugs. They cleaned everything up. So this phone was made by some of the smartest tech minds on the planet, and it's made for people who value their safety, security, and privacy, which is 100% me, and which is I'm still, I use a flip phone and hadn't switched to a smartphone yet. So that's what you need to know about the Unplugged phone. So when I started using this, probably one of my favorite things about this phone was it's got a kill switch on the side, like a physical kill switch, meaning they send you a tiny little tool. I put it in the side there, I pull down, it disconnects the battery from the phone. Because if you've got an iPhone or whatever phone, even though you turn it off, you can still be tracked. People still know where you're going. But with this, it literally disconnects. It's a physical kill switch. So if I turn my phone off, battery's not connected, it's not sending out the signal, I can't be found. So I really like that. I value my privacy. I have some very high-end sensitive meetings, and a lot of times I'm either leaving my phone at my hotel or I've got my phone in a Faraday bag to make sure that nobody absolutely knows where I'm going. So kill switch feature, definite plus, definitely like it. Another thing I like about this phone was that you can set it to automatically reboot and wipe clean anytime you want. So I set it daily, meaning I think it's around 7 p.m. when I set it. I don't remember, not that the time matters. But every 24 hours, it reboots itself, it wipes itself clean. Not that I'm doing anything super sensitive on the phone, but I still like knowing if, heaven forbid, it fell into the wrong hands, if something happened, is that I'm rebooting it daily. I'm wiping it clean daily. That way there's not a ton of personal information and nothing I have to worry about there. So that is kind of bonus number 2 I like about this phone. Number 3 of what I really like about the phone is there's zero data collection. So let me explain what the heck that means, because I know it can be confusing. Is there's these independent testing companies. One is Raxis Cybersecurity, and they compared the iPhone 16 to this phone right here, to the Unplugged phone. And the iPhone, not surprisingly, sent hundreds of data packets to Apple servers. So analytics stuff, location information, diagnostics, usage data, basically constant surveillance, because they are one of the worst of the worst when it comes to surveillance on your phone. But when this company tested the Up phone, there were 0 packets, 0 trackers, like not a zilch. So I obviously like that. That appeals to me. How does that happen? The super tech genius nerds, they have an on-device firewall that's built into the operating system at the firmware level, and that essentially it blocks third-party data harvesters before they can even make the connection. So this phone has no advertising ID, no ad ID at all. And the whole time I've been using this phone, the 6 weeks, I haven't received a single ad. I haven't received anything fishy whatsoever as I've been using this phone, which again, definite bonus number 3. By the way, before I get to bonus number 4, people always ask me, well, if I go into my, Android, if I go into Google, if I go into my iPhone and I turn off the ads and the ad tracking, they're still going to track you, okay? So it's nonsense. It's basically like most people don't know this and they do it for a false sense of security, but you are still being tracked on your Android. You are still being tracked on your iPhone. It's still going back to them, all the analytics, all the advertising information, where this phone blocks it, and it was proved. And like I said, over 6 weeks, I didn't see a single thing. Numero 4, let's talk about geofencing. What is geofencing? Well, let me tell you a quick story that you probably remember. You remember January 6th, right? So January 6th, 2021, the FBI used geofencing to request location data from Google. So that is basically they're geofencing the area, saying who was in this area, who had a phone. They used that geofencing info from Google to arrest over 1,000 people who were in the area based on their data. So geofencing means, like I said, they drew a digital perimeter around and they said who's got their phone on, who's around the Capitol, and they said, give us every phone number, every person's information, and then they went and arrested him. Obviously, terrible, horrible invasion of privacy. There was a young man that used to ride his bike around his neighborhood, and a woman's house was broken into. So the police went and got a geofencing warrant, and they happened to see, well, hey, there's this person that drives around the house almost every day. Not drives, but rides, right? They went and spoke to this young kid and threatened him, and he had to get a lawyer, spend a bunch of money, and realize, hey, this is just a kid. Now, when I say he was young, he was probably like 18, 19, so he wasn't a 5-year-old, but still. And he had to get a lawyer, pay a bunch of money, all because he decided to ride his bike around the neighborhood. They invaded his privacy. They saw, hey, this kid rides around this house every day. And eventually, when he got the lawyer, they backed off and said, all right, we know it's not him. There was no evidence. They left him alone. But that's what happens when the government tracks your phone. They can harass you, but it's not going to happen with the Up phone. Another thing that I obviously like about it. Okay, bonus number 4 or 5. I think we're on bonus number 5. Bonus number 5 is there's an emergency PIN reset. In my first video, after trying this out for a week, I mentioned about a guy who got robbed in Mexico. They made him unlock his phone. They made him empty his bank account and everything. Well, this unplugged phone, it has a duress PIN. So heaven forbid somebody puts a gun to your head and says, hey, you know, open your phone and empty your bank account. You go in there, you put in the PIN number, your emergency PIN number, not your real one, and it starts erasing everything and won't allow them to get to your information. So that is pretty awesome. In fact, there was a case in Barcelona. Tourists were getting targeted at ATM machines and thieves were forcing them to unlock their phones. They were draining like their phones by Venmo, Zelle, PayPal, everything. One couple lost over $47,000 because the thieves made them unlock their phone. Again, this was in Spain, but it happens in Mexico. It happens all over the world. I like this. I like a duress PIN. I like how it can wipe my information and it looks normal, meaning if you go in there and you put your PIN 1234, don't make your PIN 1234, but you know what I mean. If you put your PIN 1234, everything is going to look normal, like you're trying to obey them. But in the background where nobody can see it, it's quickly erasing everything. So you can say, hey, I don't have any apps here. I don't have a banking app on here. I don't have Venmo where you can get my stuff. And so that's bonus, wipes it clean, as I said. Let me share with you 2 more things I like about this phone before I get to the one negative, the one kind of quote unquote fail that I found. Another bonus is a built-in VPN. You got to have a VPN, virtual private network, these days, whether on your phone, whether on your computer. If you are surfing the internet without a VPN and you are going into Starbucks or the Wi-Fi at your hotel, you might as well just be sending your information to the world and broadcasting in the world. So you absolutely have to use a VPN. It's already built in. That's a bonus. Also has a built-in SD card. So if there's information that you don't want, on the web and protected, it's with you. It's a built-in SD card. I like that. Admittedly, I didn't really use that one that much, so I do like it. I can use it for emergency purposes, but I had no reason to use it when I was doing my stuff. And it's got good battery life, which I like battery life. Okay, now let's get to the bad. What did I not like after 6 weeks of using the Up phone by Unplugged? Okay, so what is the bad? Well, you get access to the apps ecosystem if you want to. So, thousands of apps. So if you want to start putting those apps on there, you can. However, because this is protecting you from Google, some of the apps might not work. So if you're putting some of the Google apps or whatever, because this is blocking things, because it's protecting your privacy, some apps may not work as intended. So if you have an app, again, I'm not a huge app guy, so I think of Candy Crush when I think about it. I don't even know if that's still a game these days that the youngins are playing, but there may be some apps that you say like, hey, why isn't this Google related app working on my phone? Because this is protecting you from being tracked. So if you want to download 10,000 apps, there may be some of those apps that aren't going to work. That's a negative for some people. For me, again, I'm not downloading 10,000 apps. I don't really give a crap. The other thing that might be a negative for some people is I was showing this to my wife, taking some pictures, and I don't really take that many pictures. My wife, speaking of 10,000 apps, she takes 10,000 pictures probably every day. So the quality on the phone for the camera is slightly less than an iPhone. Me, I can't notice. Looks the exact same to me. I'm not doing a whole bunch of stuff. But for my wife, who can notice a speck of hair when we're taking pictures, she noticed. So she said, yeah, it's slightly worse than an iPhone. If that bothers you, yeah, it is what it is. Doesn't bother me whatsoever. I much more value my privacy and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's get right down to brass tacks. After 6 weeks of using the phone, who is this for? Who is this not for? Well, as I just mentioned, if you're one of these people who wants to download 10,000 apps and have access to everything and doesn't care about your privacy, well then obviously you don't get this because some of the apps are not going to work. This is absolutely not for you. If you value your safety, if you value your privacy, if you want to make sure that the government, Uncle Sam is a government, Apple, Google are not tracking you, well then get this, because it's still a smartphone. You can still use it for a lot of things, but then this would absolutely be for you if you value your privacy. So yes, this is a smartphone that I will use, that I am using. I'm still going to keep my flip phone. I'm never getting rid of my flip phone because I believe in using, I always have multiple phones, usually multiple flip phones, but this is a smartphone that I feel comfortable using. I feel safe using. I'm not worried about, that I can use my kill switch whenever I want. If I'm going places, I can reset daily. So it really depends on how much you value convenience, 10,000 apps, or how much you value your safety and privacy. And I think this is a good middle ground, because whenever I tell people like, hey, I use a flip phone, get a flip phone, they look at me like I'm crazy. They're like, never in a million years would I do that. Well, if you're not going to do that, at least get this, because this is a, obviously a much better, more fancy version of a flip phone, meaning you can use it like a smartphone, but it's not intruding on you and selling your analytics, your ads, your location to Big Brother. So that is my thought. That is my recommendation. I like it. It's good. My pros overweigh my cons, so I do recommend it. I do like it. If you want to get this up phone by Unplugged, go to unplugged.com/Hanson and use coupon code Hanson for a discount. I think it's $25 off. I can't remember. But guess what? It's not a bad idea to have multiple phones either. So I'm going to keep my multiple phones. You can have multiple phones, but if you're going to use a smartphone, this is a great one. Again, go to unplugged.com/Hanson and use coupon code Hanson for a discount. Protect your privacy. Stay safe. Use this stuff. God bless you, and geez, think of all the people who are tracking you. And again, you may be an innocent person at the wrong place at the wrong time and get arrested, like several people on January 6th who just happened to be at the wrong place and got rounded up because they got geofenced. Government nonsense. Take care of yourself.